Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about skill training. A lot of people ask me about what are the most important skills, what are the things that, what ways can you improve your skill training, what ways can you speed up your skill training, how can you train most effectively to make your character as powerful as possible or as capable as possible. And unfortunately it's a pretty big topic, and it really depends a lot on what you're doing and what you want to be good at. So if you're a PvP character, it's much different than if you're a industry guy. If you're a missile user, it's different than a turret guy, Minmatar versus Kaldari. There's all kinds of differences. So I'm going to give you just some basics here in this video that'll help you to understand the basics of skill training, and then you can figure the rest out on your own. The first and biggest tip I can give anybody to increase their knowledge of skills and better plan their skills is EVEMon. This program right here, EVEMon, if I can bring it back up, EVEMon is one of the best, if not the best, third-party program for EVE Online. It's not created by CCP, it's created by fans, I guess, and our players. And those players make it as a way to, it's a skill training planner, I suppose what you would call it. But it also has some other things you could do, like mineral worksheets, and I've heard somebody say that it helps you to dual screen EVE somehow. But anyways, it's mostly just a skill training planner. So first, before I get into how to use EVEMon, let's go into some core skills. So first of all, I'm going to make a new plan. Let's make this one Rifter, because Risky Shift is a Rifter pilot. Or he used to be back when I was can flipping, before they made can flipping obsolete, I suppose. So once you start a plan, you can come here to the skill browser. The skill browser has all the different skills listed. If you come in and you see an X, that means you cannot train that skill yet. You need prerequisites. If you click it, you see what the prerequisites are. I would have to get Corporation Management 2 to get Diplomatic Relations. If it's green, it means you can train it. Let's find some others. And if it has dots, that means that's the level you're at. 3 dots, level 3, 5 dots, level 5. So the first thing to do is to realize that your most core skills that come into play for PvP, or PvE for that matter, really come under a couple categories. For every ship in the game, there are some skills in electronics that are very important, engineering that are very important, mechanics, and then spaceship command depending on what you fly, and of course navigation, which should not be overlooked. Some of those skills might be for electronics. If you want to be able to use webs and points, then you need, what's it called? It's been a long time. Propulsion jamming. You need propulsion jamming to be able to run a web or a point, disruptor or scram. And every level you get of that gives you a 5% reduction to capacitor needed to activate the module. So it makes your cap more stable. And you can go through here, and there's some other things that might help you. Long range targeting, if you're in a long range ship or a kiting ship, that gives you more targeting range. Electronics gives you more CPU output, helps you to fit better. So you can see there's a lot of core skills. I mean, probably the most core skills would be your fitting skills, like electronics and engineering. Those are pretty core, so I'd get those to level 3 or level 4 pretty fast. After that, shield management, shield operation are great ones, and you come down to mechanic and things like mechanics, which is 5% to structure, and hull upgrades, 5% to armor. Those are all good skills too, but really I can't go over them all right now. I don't have time. It would take me 30 minutes to make this video if I went over every single skill. But what I'd rather you do is go and look through each one of these categories and just look at all the different skills. Look at what they do and realize which ones are going to be the best to train. Some of these are just capacitor. If you're not really low on capacitor, they're not that important, but you'll see acceleration control. That's 5% to speed, so that's a pretty important skill. That's one you should try to get up pretty fast, but you also should look into navigation and trying to get that up to level 4 or level 5 as quickly as possible, because that's a good one of 5% speed. So there's all kinds of skills, but what you want to do is you want to go through each category and look at what you can train. See, I could train that, no need to for a Rifter, but you can see it's green, so I could train that if it was some benefit. And then what you want to do is you want to go and find a category, go to a station that sells skill books, and find a category, let's say gunnery, and then go through and look at all the skills you might want and go ahead and buy those skills and start training them. So if you don't have surgical strike yet, buy that, train it up to level 3, and just go through and get them all, like every skill that could have any benefit for you, go up, train it to level 3 or level 4 really quick. Maybe just in one day, train 20 skills to level 2 or level 3, and that's going to give you a good base to work from, and probably the quickest way to improve your character's skills and performance is to just go through and level 2, level 3 tons of skills if you're very new. If you're an old character, it doesn't hurt to go through here and make sure you've got everything that's going to help you. So the next tip would be, as early as possible in the game, pick a team. So what I mean by pick a team is pick gunnery or go team missile. So team gunnery, team missile. Which one of those are you going to do? One of the biggest improvements to PvP I noticed was when I stopped cross-training both of them, and I decided I'm just going to focus on gunnery, and that was with the Baden, not risky shift. But I went with the Baden, and I level 5'd every single skill just about in gunnery that had any effect on any of my ships. By doing that, I was able to vastly increase the amount of DPS I was able to put out on targets and increase my odds of winning in most fights. So the more DPS you put out, the better chance you have of winning. The more DPS you put out, the faster the target dies, and the more likely you are to get out before all his buddies arrive, that kind of thing. So pick a team. Doesn't matter which one, gunnery or missiles. I prefer gunnery, but that doesn't mean missiles are bad. Missiles still have a lot of possibility right now, with like heavy assault missiles being probably the top, and some people are saying cruise missiles might be good in the future. But right now, I'd say pick one of these two and stick with it and try to really focus on that one area. The more you spread out and don't focus, the less effective it's going to be. So try to focus. So let's see what else. Next, I would say pick a ship. So if you're talking about focus, you want to focus on a ship. So for Risky Shift, his ultimate goal is to be a good wolf pilot. But starting with, I'd rather have him like as a good rifter pilot. So if you can see here, I've already made a plan for a better rifter. And I went through some of the skills and looked at what could help. Based on this fitting in EFT for armor, you can see it's just a basic armor fit with a tracking disruptor. So what I was looking at was a cool trick you can do in EFT is you can go through and right click. That's a Baden 21, I don't want that one. Alright, Risky Shift. You can right click on something and you can change effective skill, and you can see which skills affect that module. So I see that if I get these to level 2, that's going to help me. And I mean, let's say I took what's my weakest explosive, so just to show you the effect, if I made it level 5, you see it goes to 30, 35, and that's from 29, 35. So it helps. They're not big changes, but they do help. So then you can come over here and you can look at Afterburner. Right now I'm going 1103 meters a second. Take acceleration control to level 5, and you see it goes to 1161. So by going through like this, I can see all the effects of the different skills. What was that, level 3? So I can check everything. Guns, you can see exactly, you know, motion prediction. Now with guns, a lot of people focus too much on that DPS number, but DPS is not just your raw damage output. You'll increase your DPS anytime you increase your optimal range, your fall off, especially in a rifter where you're always fighting in fall off. Anytime you, because you see the low optimals there, 0.7. So most of the time your target's going to be beyond the 0.7, so you're not going to be doing the full DPS. Anytime you can increase your optimal or your fall off, you're going to be doing more DPS. So any skill that increases your range is likely to increase DPS. Skills that increase your tracking, like motion prediction, I'm not sure what trajectory analysis does, but any skill that affects the performance of the gun is going to effectively increase your DPS. So that's a cool trick with EFT. Another cool trick you could do is with E-War modules. You can use the projected effects, and I can say, well, the tracking on this right now is, well, let's just go all the way. Let's open up a DPS graph, make the wolf attack the rifter, and the rifter is going to be orbiting at about 72% of his velocity. This guy's micro warp drive is going to be off because he's going to be scrammed. And now we can see the rifter is probably going to swing out to right around just over 1,000 while he's orbiting the wolf. And if we take our tracking disruptor and we put it on a projected effects on the wolf, you can see 7 DPS. Now let's uncheck that. So I'm doing 30, or he's doing 30 DPS to me. That's what this is showing, how much DPS the wolf is doing to the rifter. Once the rifter turns on his tracking disruptor on the wolf, the DPS drops from 30 to 7. So you can see how effective your E-War is. Then you can take that one step further, and I'm not sure if this skill affects it, but let's say we had that. Turret destabilization, yeah, it does. So it's turret destabilization level 5, and you can see how much more that skill will make the tracking disruptor more effective and thus reduce the incoming DPS. Let me put this back the way it was before I forget, because I haven't trained that yet. But that's a cool way you can also see how skills affect things. So let's pull up the skills again. And so then next, let's say I want to create a new plan for my wolf. So I've got the rifter pretty awesome. I'm ready to move up to a wolf. So I'm going to create a new plan called wolf. I'm going to go up here to ship browser. I'm going to go to frigates, advanced, assault, Minmatar, wolf, or you can just type wolf right there in the search box. And you can see right here required skills. I'm going to go ahead and add all. That adds all the skills I need, which are mechanics 5 and assault ships 1. And then you never want to just have 1 because it's so quick to get level 3. So let's get assault ships to 3. And then what else can we do with the wolf? We probably want to get some of our gun skills up, so go into gunnery and maybe take motion prediction to level 4. Yeah, trajectory analysis is fall off, so that's huge. Let's get that to level 4. Surgical strikes, a 3% damage bonus. Get that to level 4. You can see how I can go through these things and increase my and find the skills that are perfect for the ship I want to fly, so I can really focus in on that ship and get the most bang for the buck out of that. So what about for long training? Well, let's do a new one here. So if you were kind of new or intermediate aged player and you wanted to fly, say, a carrier, so you come in here, capital ships, carriers, Minmatar, Nidhugger. Add all to plan. Tons of skills you got to add there. Now there's other stuff you're going to add too, so let's go to item browser and let's go to fighters. That one's good enough. Add those so you'll be able to use fighters. Then what else are we going to need? We're going to need to be able to use the capital armor repair. Depends on whether you armor repair, or shield repair, or Nidhugger. A lot of people go with armor because the rest of the capitals in the fleet are armor, so we'll say armor. Then you're going to need a remote armor repair. Gotta add those to the plan. And maybe you want a triage, so you get a triage module. Add all that to plan. And what else could you use? I think that's pretty good. Maybe you want a shield transfer just for fun. There it is. It's right in front of me. All right. So now you got all your skills. So then you come over here to your plan queue, and you look at it and you see it's going to cost you 1 billion ISK in skill books, or 1.1 billion. It's going to take you 224 days to complete. A cool thing about EVEMon is it allows you to optimize your attributes. You can use a remap in the game, and you can do remap for the best for the first year, and it will tell you the best way to optimize your attributes to train this the fastest as possible. And you can see right now that I am already pretty much optimized, not quite, but that'll save me 2 days. A lot of people that are focused in another area or equally focused, you could see the effects. You know, say if you were kind of balanced across the board, you could see it would have a pretty big effect. And the next thing you can do is you can look at how effective implants are at speeding up your training. So let's say you kept this guy in high sec, never took him into a situation where he could get potted, so you put +4s in him, and you can see what the effect of that's going to be. You can see that +4s would give you a 36-day, would increase your training time or decrease your training time by 36 days. So you can also see which ones are the most effective. That's like 2 days each level. That's like only 1 day. That one has like almost no effect, so you can get rid of that one. That one's pretty effective, so you want that one. And that one's somewhat effective. So you can see which ones affect it the most and maybe save yourself some money by not getting the charisma or whatever doesn't affect it as much, because usually when you're training something you'll see that it's pretty focused in one area. Another way you could look at that is if you had multiple remaps, which a lot of people do because they haven't used them yet. If you have multiple remaps, you could do something like a vagabond plan. And let's just make this fast here. Vaga. Add all to plan. You see here you got certificates that are recommended too. It's a great way to kind of understand what you need, but still it's not all of them are actually required. So you got your Vaga, and then you want to run some 425s on it. Add all those to your plan. And I'm not sure if Risky Shift has the skills for a large shield extender. No, he doesn't. Gonna need those, and that's basically what I need. I would need a lot more for the Vagabond. So actually, that's another thing we can do. We can come over here and we can go to Battle Clinic loadouts, which I really don't suggest Battle Clinic loadouts most of the time. But in this case, you can see 3 loadouts. In some cases, it can give you an idea. So let's go with this one, even though I would not use this loadout. And you can add all those to your skill. So now we've got a pretty good Vaga plan here. Obviously, you'd take more time and be more careful when you were setting it up, but I'm trying to just get the point across as quickly as possible. So if you had multiple remaps, there's a way you can come in here and you can use remapping points that you set. And you can basically change what points you're going to remap so that you can focus in on skills like this that are perception, secondary willpower. That's the most important stats for that. And then maybe something else like energy grid upgrades. You could come through and see that that's intelligence and memory, and you could sort your skills so that it's most effective for multiple remaps. But that's a little bit more complicated, and I actually don't exactly know how to do that, so you'd have to figure that out. But it's there and it's possible. But beyond that, use EVEMon to plan your skills. Focus in on certain things. Don't go all over the place. Don't train Caldari for the Drakes and then turn around and try to train Mimitar for Hurricanes. And the more you focus, the faster you're going to progress, and the faster you're going to be able to get to a level of skill points and character effectiveness where you're going to be able to compete with other players and be good in PvP. So a lot of people contact me and say, well, I'm only 3 months old. How am I supposed to compete with a guy that's 3 years old? And it's really easy. All you have to do is focus your skill training, get good in one ship, and then use better tactics and fly better and better execution, and you'll beat the guy. I mean, you're not going to win every time, obviously, but once you focus in your skill training on one specific ship or one specific area, you'll notice that you're able to be much more effective in PvP. So that's it for the core skills skill training video. If you have any questions, you can post them in the comments below and I will answer them for you.